obviously there's the whole general idea that it's a condition where you are born with limited or no melanin, right? And because of that, you are exposed to a lot of disadvantage because of the way your skin might respond to certain weather conditions. For instance, if it's summer, you get a lot of sunburns unless you have to really protect yourself as much as possible. But obviously, looking at it from a cultural point of view, there's a lot of myths and ideas of what albinism is, because a lot of uneducated Africans in that aspect, they believe that probably albinism is a curse. Maybe you did something or your ancestors are not happy, that's why your child was born in a certain way. I'm sure you can relate to that even in your culture, where people believe that if your child is born with a certain disability, there's something that maybe your mother did or someone did that God is not happy about, which is wrong because it's just a scientific, it's biology, right? So yeah, it's something that we still have to learn to educate people about. I'm happy to be part of this platform because you guys, as the DSA, want to educate people, as well as give back to the community. So I'm happy to be part of this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayana, because we are very inspired by your personal story, and we think with the sharing of your story, more people will understand correctly about albinism as a condition, and also to correct the misperception in Zimbabwe, and to give more chances for people with albinism to have more opportunities to strive in life.
That's true. That's very true.
And I was so excited to hear about your modeling work. How did it come about?
How did it come about? Okay, so when I was in primary school, I did my first pageant, which was Miss Dumezwen Primary School, the school that I went to. And then I did it for fun. I would enter every year. I would win here and there, and I wouldn't win. But then in 2017, I watched Miss Universe, and then a lady from South Africa won. And I remember that when I was a child, I used to really love modeling. So it was a matter of this is something that I want to do, something that I've always loved. And let me try and see how I can pursue it as a career. Obviously, my parents were like, if you want to do modeling, you can, but then you also have to go to school so that there's balance, there. But right now, I think for me, I've used modeling as a way to push the social issues that I'm very passionate about, which I mentioned earlier, advocating for young women and the rights of people with disabilities. Because when you're a pageant girl, you have to have a social cause that you're passionate about. And my dream as a pageant girl is to become Miss Universe one day. I'm actually entering Miss Universe Zimbabwe this year.
Wow. Exciting. We support you.
Thank you so much. I would love, for me to push my social causes and bring you guys in, since I feel like in a way we have a similar cause, But yeah, that's for me right now. I think my goal is to try out for Miss Universe and see how everything goes, because it's a platform that I resonate with. Although in Zimbabwe, pageantry is not as popular as in Asia, where you come from. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
You really have a very strong courage to enter this platform.
Thank
Because
you.
I think it's a bit competitive and
Very.
it requires so much resources.
It requires resource. It requires I think a strong heart in a way, because it's competition, and you have to put your best foot forward every day, even sometimes when it gets so overwhelming, because every competition, it needs someone to be very courageous and very authentic. So yeah, it is, but I think it's because it's something that I enjoy doing, so it comes easy to me in a way.
Yeah, so it's your passion.
Yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about.
May I know about your, so you go for a pageant competition. So what are the weapons that you see that you are having? to compete in this field, to
Um,
convince?
I think for me, really, when I entered modeling or when I started doing modeling, I realized there were not a lot of people with albinism that were doing it here in Zimbabwe. There were quite a few people, but I think because of the discrimination and the marginalization that I was talking about, a lot of people were so discouraged to enter the modeling scene because they think, well, I have albinism. I've never seen someone like me do such a thing. So for me right now, in as much as I'm doing it, it's because it's something that I love, something that I'm passionate about. I'm also doing it because I want to be a pioneer so that other people can say, I'm able to dream bigger because there's been someone who has done this before me and I've seen the outcome that it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what kind of condition that you have, it doesn't matter what kind of race. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, we're all beautiful, we're all equally capable, and I can also dream big because I've seen someone else do it. So I think that's why I'm doing it now, to encourage other people, because when I was entering this industry, I didn't have a lot of people to look up to. And when I started doing it as very often and getting so much recognition, I realized a lot of people were inspired by what I was doing. You meet someone and they're like, oh my God, you have albinism, but you have so much confidence and you speak with so much authenticity. I wish I had that. So for me right now, it's showing those very same people that have self-doubt that I am also able to do this. And sometimes I can inspire people with albinism, but it can be someone else. It can be someone different with a different story. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. In as much as struggles are different, there are things that we go through. We all have an element of self-doubt at some point. We all have, what do you call it? We all have setbacks. So what we need to do is to understand that it doesn't matter. What I always say is it doesn't matter which race, which religion, which ethnic background, or which social background, because we're different people. Some are born with privilege, some are not. It doesn't matter where you come from. As long as you work hard and you put your all into whatever you're doing, you can achieve it. So yeah.
I see that you are already winning. You're already winning by first stepping out and then to think that it's possible and to be present. And I think just being the present there, you already send out the message. And you have a very strong and very convincing message.
Thank you.
Yeah, like we are all human beings.
Yes.
Maybe the outside are different colors, but the quality inside, the experience of being a human being, we all have emotions. We all have to deal with certain things we don't like, and we have to deal with life challenges.
Life challenges,
Yeah.
exactly. We all have some adversity that we have to overcome at some point, And the reason why I'm saying that we all have same kind of challenges is because, for instance, anyone can go through a mental health problem. It's something that can never choose and say, no, I'm not attacking Asians, or I'm not attacking Caucasians. You get it. Something that anyone can have. In life, we all need to go through school and find a way to give it our all and come out with the best income. Be it a running competition, you have to work hard, you have to train hard. It's not like because you're born with a certain type of condition, or you're from a certain type of background, you have it better. You don't. Obviously sometimes we have certain advantages because of where we come from, but there are some things that we can never choose in life. It's either the way forward or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened that like someone compare life as the biggest school. So we go to school, but in fact, the biggest education is with the life, and life
Exactly.
is our school. And you were given certain problem to solve, and then if you solve the problem, then you graduate in that class and you move to the next
You
class.
move to the next
So
level.
you are, I think you are graduating from the class of the like disadvantaged condition, and you turn the disadvantage into opportunity. In fact,
Opportunity, yeah. I believe that our life story is capable of inspiring the next person or the next generation, you know. Right now in Africa, we are blessed with a lot of visionaries because they look at our history and they say, we are so blessed to have ancestors who fought for us, and we get to enjoy certain privileges because of that aspect. So it's the same thing with our daily lives. There are people that look up to you and you don't even know. You know, there's someone who will meet you and be like, Marriott is an amazing woman and I aspire to be her. So in a way, as much as we're living our lives for our own, we're also living our lives in order to inspire the next person, because we don't know what someone else is going through, you know. Someone might be facing a certain challenge, but because they are watching the way you live your life from afar, they might be inspired by, you know, by the way you live your life in order for them to continue, you know.
Yeah. Now I would like to ask you to share with us, to have albinism, what kind of daily difficulties you have?
What kind of daily difficulties do I have?
That you need to take extra efforts.
I, okay, how would I put it? I think because, well, I've grown to be very self-aware. For me, in as much as there are certain challenges, they are no longer that much of a challenge to me. But I will share them anyway because it's something that I went through and I had to overcome. Because I think when I was in primary school and I was in high school, I was the only different person in the whole school, you know. So you have a school of about 3,000, 4,000 people, and they all look the same. So I never got an opportunity maybe to go to a mixed school where there are white people, mixed people, and black people. I went to an all black school. So I was the one who was different, you know. I had the different skin color, and for a lot of kids, because of questions, I would get asked a lot of questions from the kids. They would be like, why is it you're different from us, you know? And when I was a child, because I didn't understand the condition, I also had questions, you know. You ask yourself, why is it I'm different from everyone? You know, it's like when you are from a disadvantaged family and you go to a very privileged school and all those kids, they have cars, you know, and you don't. You start asking yourself questions like, why is it I don't have a car, but then every other kid in school has a car? So it was like that. It was like I would ask myself questions like, why is it I'm different from everyone else? And my brother is black. So I would ask myself, like, why am I different from my brother? But we're from the same parent, same mother, same father. And both my parents are also black, you know. So it was that kind of hardship where I was constantly asking myself questions, but I was also constantly being asked questions by other kids. And because, like I mentioned earlier, that there is a lot of misconception about what is the origin of albinism. How does someone get to have albinism? A lot of kids also bullied me because they came from homes where they were told that for someone to have albinism, the gods must be mad at their parents. The parents are not good people, you know, and all that type of stuff. So I had kids who bullied me because they thought of me as less superior, you know, than them. They thought because this is what I hear from home, then you are not a human being. You are not, you don't deserve to be in this very same space as me. But because as I grew up, I began to understand who I am, and I grew a lot in terms of emotional intelligence.
Mm.
So I'm at a point now where I can be at a space where I'm the only person who looks like this and I'm not affected by it because I've grown to learn and understand what albinism is. And I'm very self-aware. Obviously, I struggle with my eyesight, but also because as you grow, you understand yourself. And I always say to my friends that because one of my senses doesn't function properly, some of my senses are very heightened. Like if I meet you right now, and the next time you call me in the dark, I will know that this is Mariette because my ears are so powerful. Because yeah, so it's one of those things where I've grown to understand myself, and I've grown to understand the kind of life that I live. So in as much as I may call it difficulties, they are no longer difficulties. And the society, in as much as they can sense how strong or powerful you are as a person. So it's not every day that someone can come to me and be like, oh, you're so different. You're like this, you're like that. I never allow them to do that to me. But I'm no longer affected by it because I've grown as a person.
Yeah, I really totally can relate to you. That sometimes we ourselves, we weigh our values based on others' evaluation and acceptance. And probably our lesson together is to learn how to appreciate the values, the inner values that we already have.
As a person, right?
As a person.
That's
And
very true.
you did it already.
I look at life and say every day is an opportunity to learn. I am so grateful for the life that I've had to live because I meet different people. The other day I met Nadia, today I met you, and we're having a conversation right now. And as much as you're going to have nitty-gritties that you're going to pick from this conversation and you're going to hold on to them for the rest of your life, I'm also learning from you. Yeah, so every day is an opportunity to learn. You learn something.
Ayana, I really respect what you just said. The attitude to open up.
Exactly.
And also to keep learning, willing to learn and always find opportunities, even though I think it's difficult to function in the hot weather of Zimbabwe with the sun.
Yes.
And like transportation is not easy, but you still have to find a way around. And sunscreens are expensive. So I do think these are really discouraging. Despite those difficulties that are so obvious, you just choose not to let them bring you down. And you even see more opportunities from such scenarios and you turn it into your gold.
That's true. There's something positive about every day. You might wake up and you have to queue in a bank, and it's exhausting. But when you look at it, there's some positivity that comes out of it. That's what my father always says, that there's every day you learn something, even if it might not even be a big deal, because sometimes we think learning is sitting in a classroom and listening to a lecturer talk for 2 hours. It's not. You might go into a bank and you don't know how to operate the door, and someone's like, oh, it's push, it's not pull. You get it. That's a lesson. So next day when you go back, you know how it's done. So every day you learn something. And it's how you look at the world that makes a difference. I don't want to make it sound like it's something that's easy, because life is not easy. And like I said, because every day as human beings we face the same kind of problems. It's how we choose to look at them and how we choose to overcome them that's more important, because life is just full of problems.
So we are solving from one problem to the
another.
next.
It's like sunset. The next day, it's new problems altogether.
Yeah.
So every day you find a way to learn and to overcome until the rest of the day, and then another day, another day.
So the more complicated the problems, the better our skills are.
Exactly. And I think when you look at it, when you face a certain problem and you overcome it, there's a lesson behind it and a new skill. You might be given an assignment that you have never done before, but because you choose to learn and to learn until you get that particular thing done, you come out a whole different person. In December, I went to Miss Africa, which was in Nigeria. The only time I had left Zimbabwe was to go to South Africa, which is a neighboring country. Now I had to go all the way to Nigeria, which is a different country. It's a different part of Africa. And I had to spend my first ever holiday without my family. Every Christmas holiday, I've always been with my family now. It was, I'm away, I'm spending holiday without my family, and I'm in a competition where I'm gonna be amongst a crowd and I don't know any of those people because my family wasn't able to travel with me, And I didn't win. And at first I was very heartbroken because I had worked so hard to get there. I had to look for money for my flight tickets, for my visa, and for the clothes that I have to have for camp and everything. But when I look at it now, I'm like, I am going into Miss Universe Zimbabwe a better person. I'm different from someone who's going to be doing this for the very first time. I now know how things are done.
You have experience.
Exactly. I now know that I need to look for this. I now know how I need to be able to do my hair, to do my makeup. I need to have this type of outfits. And in case that my button breaks, I always have to have a sewing kit. That is something that someone who's doing this very thing for the very first time doesn't know. So yeah, it's sometimes we look at it and it's a challenge, and sometimes even if it doesn't come out all positive as we hoped, we look at it and say it was a waste of time, but it wasn't. There is a lesson behind it. So yeah.
I really hope that those audience who happen to listen to our conversation, they will help you to find the resources, because Miss Universe, the candidate needs a really good team support behind,
Yes,
for
that's true.
costumes, even for counseling, and of course hair and
makeup,
many
yeah.
technical things to promote the best image. Yeah.
That's true. And like I was saying, that it's different from, because immediately when I saw your name, I was like, she's from Vietnam. And because I follow a lot of Vietnamese beauty queens. So I've probably I know about 3, 4, 5 previous Miss Vietnam title holders. And I've seen that especially in Asia, in the Philippines and Thailand, you have people who are very passionate about pageantry. We're still yet to get there as a country in Zimbabwe because people don't understand that it's more than beauty. This is a platform that is meant to empower young women. So I'm praying that my message goes out there and people believe in me. And in the event that I do win Miss Universe Zimbabwe, when I go to Miss Universe, I'm the best prepared version of myself. Because like they always say, sometimes you don't need to compete with the next person. You just need to bring your A game. And if it's yours, God will grant it. If it's not, you learn.
Yeah.
So when you go to the next stage of your life, because you said life is all about stages, when you go to the next stage of your life, you are a better person. You know how to deal with certain things. You know how to handle pressure, how to handle crowds.
Yeah. And how to represent.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
because it's bigger than you.
Yeah.
When you're there, there can be 10 Michelles because you have 80, 90 candidates. And you can have 10 Michelles, 10 Samanthas, 10 Mariettes, but there can only be one Zimbabwe at that particular time, and that's you. Yeah.
Well, I really feel like you are so mindful. You are mindful of yourself. You know well about yourself, your strengths, and of course weaknesses, but you turn that into opportunities. You're mindful about the flow of life. You're mindful of the system, the mechanism, how, let's say, the Miss Universe competition works. So you get yourself prepared.
Every day I try to educate myself about that because it's something that I want a lot. And I want, when the opportunity presents itself, to be as much prepared as I can be.
Mm.
So that's where I am every day. I'm learning, and I think people put it in a way as, oh, when you're training for a pageant, you have to go to the gym, learn how to walk and stuff. But it's more than that, you know. Like I'm saying, every day I use each day as an opportunity to learn, and it's teaching me to be a better person, so that if I'm given this position, it's a leadership position, I'm able to know how I can lead people.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, from this point, I want to understand as well about your choice of your university major. So you study law?
Yes.
And what made you decide for this?
Okay. So with me, law, it was never like, I think when I was growing up, I changed my profession aspirations a lot. So when when I was young, they're like, "What do you want to become?" And I'm like, "I want to become a pilot." And then you go to secondary school, and they're like, "What do you want to become?" I want to become a dietitian. So that's where I was until I was in A level. After A level, I did a lot of public speaking in high school. So when I finished my O level, A level rather, sorry, a lot of my teachers were like, "You are very outspoken, and you would make a great lawyer," you know. So I was like, okay, those people think I can become a great lawyer. Let me see how everything goes. So when I applied for my university degree, I put law as my first choice. In my second and third choice, I had media and communication and film, radio, and television production, which is already things that I was already doing. But obviously, as I got to finish my first year of law school and go to my second year, I discovered that with law, it's more than just go get a degree and graduate, right? The way people put it out there is like, oh, you have to go to school, graduate, and now you're representing people. It's more than that. With law, you learn a little bit about everything, because that's life. Every lifestyle has a rule in the law. You know, do not enter this premise unless you're invited to. Do not drive a car without a driver's license. It's every element of life has a law to it. So I think that's really what made me stick to the degree, because I knew that at the end of the day, when I graduate, I know about a little bit of everything. I know a little bit about a little bit of medicine, banking, tax, civil procedure, So yeah, but as a lawyer, I really want to venture into corporate, but I also want to do humanitarian work. So advocacy in terms of human rights, policy making, so that we make our laws better. And yeah, that's where I am.
Can I ask you, how is the law now in relation to albinism? Are they supported within the law framework?
In Zimbabwe, so what the constitution advocates for is equality, right? Whether someone has a disability or not, it doesn't really put out or has a provision that specifically states people with disabilities. No, it says people with disabilities, not people living with albinism.
Okay, so they don't recognize living with albinism is in the
It-
group of disability.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
an umbrella term for everyone that has a disability. And I've seen that also it tries to incorporate people with disabilities even in leadership positions. That whole idea of, even I think, in as much as people will still discriminate you because of the kind of disability that you have, the law is against that. And I think obviously we understand that with the law, there's the written part of law and the practice. So what I can say is, I wish that what's written down is more practiced, so that we try and incorporate that whole idea of equality and equity. Yeah. Um, I think that's my opinion really. I'll say the law is very straightforward about what it says about people living with disabilities, people with albinism included. What we need to do is to work on the practice part of it and say, oh, we're saying equality in the workplace, then let's do it. Do not give Marriott a certain position because you think she's more capable than Ayanda. If Ayanda has the same merit as Marriott, then we need to be in a position to give someone that position because of merit, you know.
Yeah, I can see that this job scope is still there to be done, and I think your generation will be the one to help. Yeah, and talking about law major, you need to read a lot, right? So how do you get the support for reading?
I think with me, well, I'm privileged to go to the University of Zimbabwe because we have something called the Disability Resource Center.
Wow.
Yes. So what that is it's an institution that was developed by the university to say, because we have students with disabilities, we want to make their life a little bit easier, so that they are able to study and produce the same quality work as someone who doesn't have a disability. So when, for instance, for people who are blind, there is a translation department where they translate the exam to Braille, and then after you finish writing, they translate to English or whatever language that you are writing in, so that the lecturer is also able to understand your work, right? It's, for instance, for people maybe who do not have hands, it gives you more time to, for instance, when you're writing a 3-hour paper, you're given 1.5 hours more so that you're also able to finish that very same exam. So I think that is a very beautiful, innovative thing that the university has done. I'm part of the Disability Resource Center department, and I think they're doing amazing, amazing work. I have never really struggled with, as long as I have spectacles, I'm able to read, you know. I'm able to read from my computer, I'm able to read from my phone, or whatever book I have at the, what do you call it, at the library. Also, whenever I write an exam, they always ask me, what type of font do you want? So that I'm able to read and understand the questions and write my exam. So I don't think I've ever struggled in that part, but I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with a lot, because when you're in school, lecturers or teachers, they write from the board, and because you're short-sighted, you're not able to see what they are writing. It's something that I faced a lot when I was in high school or when I was in primary school, because that's where teachers write on the chalkboard a lot. But at the university, they're just like, open page what, you have your own personal textbook. Or they would just be like, download this particular case, you're able to access it on your phone. And with your phone, you're able to accessorize it in a way that you can change your font type and your font size to the one that is comfortable with you. But I think it's something that maybe the education ministry has to look at in terms of trying to make the education system as much as relaxed and inclusive of the people living with disabilities. So it might be people are short-sighted or not, because we have different disabilities, and some people are totally blind, like I said. So having a part of institution that accommodates and makes life easier for people with disabilities would be very amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel so grateful to hear about your university, that they have such good support for people with disability. I think all those individuals who support, contribute to this department, they are so wonderful.
They are, and I think it's easier for people also who go to school in the urban areas, because people who go to school in rural areas, they can never have the same type of resources. So I think as the DSA, if ever you want maybe to look into donations and innovative ideas that you can implement at grassroots level at schools, is something that you can actually look into it. Yeah.
Thank you for the idea. Yeah. And then in your life, so I feel that you are so well-rounded personality. You know what you want, you are working hard towards that, and you are so mindful, and you have emotional intelligence. So who are the people who gave you all of these positive influences?
Who? Okay, I think I'm very grateful to come from a family that really understood me in a way. My parents have 4 children. 2 are black, 2 have albinism.
Oh, two with albinism.
Yes, and my sister is the one that has albinism. And because she had faced certain challenges, I knew how to navigate around certain challenges because I've heard someone who has gone through that part. That's why I was talking about the importance of representation, because when you have someone to look up to, life becomes a little bit easier, you know.
You have the examples.
Exactly. So, because for me, I feel like with my sister, my parents, it was like something new to them, an experiment where they are trying this and trying that, and some things work and some things don't work. But when I came along, it was like, oh, now we know how things are supposed to be done. We now know that she needs sunscreen. She needs to wear clothes that are very protective. She needs to have a sun hat. She needs to have spectacles because she's what do you call it? She's short-sighted. So I'm so grateful to have a family that is like that, and also my family is very supportive in terms of whatever I do. I'm somebody who has done a lot for my young age, and sometimes it's parents can never understand. They're like, "Oh, you're doing too much. You're supposed to be concentrating on school," but they have that level of trust in me to make certain decision as a young woman. Some of them can be a flop, but then I learn from them. But they are very supportive in terms of whatever that I do. I'm also surrounded by a lot of mentors. People will see you and they're like, you are an inspirational young lady. And this is how things are done. This is not how things are done. So I'm so grateful to have, in terms of modeling, I was trained by a lady called Samantha Chuma. She was Miss Zimbabwe 2010. So she has taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot from her, not even because she sits me down and says, this is how you're supposed to do things, but by just looking at the way she has lived her life, I've learned from that. I also learn from my friends. Like I'm saying, you have conversations with people, and some of them are life changing because when you listen with the intention to learn, you take away something that will change the course of your life. So I have a supportive family, I'm surrounded by amazing mentors, and I'm surrounded by supportive friends. But also, like I told you, I make use of my social media. I follow a lot of inspirational people who share their life stories, and you're just moved by the way people have lived their life. I know a lady from Vietnam. Her name is Hani. I don't know if that's how I'm supposed to.
She was the Miss Universe in
28
Vietnam.
Yes, and
She
2018.
came from a very minority family.
Exactly.
I know her. She was working as a housekeeper. Yeah.
So I'm so inspired by her because I remember when she was competing at Miss Universe, she mentioned something about how when she was 14, her parents, they said she should find a husband, but she chose to pursue her education. And in 2018, she became Miss Universe Vietnam. And when she won, she used the prize money to donate to build a library for a school in her rural area, which is something that is amazing. You learn a lot from people like that. So when you listen, because now when you go to a social media and you see, because she's now a supermodel, you just see nice pictures on social media, you think this person is very privileged, but she's not. She had to overcome a lot of adversity in order to get to where she is today. So I encourage people to listen with the intention to learn, not maybe listen with the intention to respond, you know. So yeah, I follow a lot of inspirational people and they teach me a lot. And I love meeting strangers because I think this is an amazing conversation that we're having right now, and we just met.
Yes. Am I still stranger to you?
No, you're no longer a stranger.
No, I know a lot about you. I feel so like you are such a gem. I feel like wow, such a gem, shining bright diamond here in Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much.
Even I get inspired from you,
Thank
from
you.
your attitude, your choice in the life, and always moving forward. This energy is so precious here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I think that's I like I said, I use every day as an opportunity to learn. I learn from my family. I used to learn from my grandmother. She used to tell me a lot of stories. And so every day I'm learning from people, even from strangers.
And also, you learn from me, and I learn from you. It's mutual learning.
Exactly.
So probably let's wrap up our conversation with some summary of messages that we want to share to the public. What you think? I know the International Albinism Day this year
It's on
will
the
be
13th of
soon in
June, yeah.
June. Maybe we will share some really important messages that we want to advocate for this year.
Okay. I think what I would do is encourage. Okay, I always have two messages whenever I'm faced with this particular topic. One is to the people living with disabilities or people living with albinism, and another is to the public in general. What I would say to the public is people should educate themselves, because a lot of people know albinism from what they hear, not from what they have sat down and been taught. It's not something obviously that you can learn at school because like I said, it's biology. If you have an opportunity to learn about it at school, that's amazing. But it's not everyone that has an opportunity to learn about that. But there's a lot of misconception about what albinism is. So what I would encourage the public to do is to take time to learn. You can never judge something with half the knowledge that is required for you to make a judgment. So I would I would really implore people to get the necessary knowledge, and with that necessary knowledge, you know how to maneuver the situation. You know that you have to be kind to someone with albinism because you might not understand that at the airport they are not able to read the notice board, or they can never stand in a queue for a very long time because it's under the sun. So when you get educated enough about that particular condition, you will know how to maneuver in that situation. And then my message to people living with albinism is refuse to be defined by someone else's belief of what's possible. And I'm saying that because as people living with albinism, we face a lot of discrimination and marginalization and abuse from people who lack the knowledge. And may that never be a setback for you to say, this is not my space, this world is not for me, I will not pursue this particular path because the next person has told me this is not for you. No. Every day is an opportunity for you to get out there and pursue whatever you want. You have been told, I was told a lot that you can never be a model because we've never had a beauty queen like you. I was the first Miss University of Zimbabwe with albinism, so
you make history.
Exactly. So it's a lot of times we get told, we get boxed, but do not allow yourself to be boxed by someone who doesn't know your life story. They don't know what you want in life. They don't know how many adversities or how many difficulties you have to overcome in order to get to where you are today. So people don't know your life story. Only you can write your life story, and the way you can do that is to stand firm in what you believe in. Yeah.
This message also is correct to give to me. Every single word you say, I can relate to. Yeah.
So yeah,
And I want to say thank you to you for sharing all of your wisdom today, and especially thank you to your sister. I think she plays a very important role to contribute to your success today. And thanks to your parents, because they really brought to this world such a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful woman, inside and outside, beautiful. And thanks to all the support community around you for paving the way that you move ahead and you can become a very effective representative. And I would like to call our audience to continue to provide support to the albinism community, and as well as support your dream to become Miss Universe Zimbabwe and to go for the fight in the Miss Universe International. I know you need so many resources from mentors, from coaching, from financial resources. So please, 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 everyone can contribute a little bit for the dream to come true.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to a Diplomatic Spouses Association. Although I've only met two. No, actually I've met three members. There's you, there's Nadia, and then there's a lady who goes by the name Bosnian lady, something like that.
Ramayana.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
she is so nice.
She is very nice. So I've only met three of you, but you all are amazing, and you are a great representation of what you can do with the kind of position that you have. Because some people might think, oh, I'm just in this country because I'm supporting my husband, but because you are out there doing your very own I don't know how to put it. You're doing your own work in order to change the community is really amazing, and I'm looking forward to working with you and probably meeting the rest of the association. And I hope that because I feel like we resonate a lot in terms of our social causes, that this is a beginning of a working relationship that will go further, even if when I go for Miss Universe, or
we will be supporting you from behind. We spread the word.
So I'm really grateful for this platform in order for me to share my message, because I believe in the power of storytelling. I believe that our life story is capable of changing someone else's way of how they view life. So for you guys to say we need to give this young lady a platform to say something is really amazing, and I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, your story is no longer your story.
Exactly.
It's the wealth to transform the next life, to transform the next of the next life.
Exactly. Yeah. It's how we change the narrative for the next generation.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.